Today I will be going over the tips on how to get a 4.0 GPA in 2024. Now, to give some personal background, I didn't have the best grades at start. Actually, my grades were quite horrible. I had a 1.7 GPA in high school, and then when I turned to university, I got a 4.0 GPA, which means A's across the board. And I'm not a naturally intelligent person, because most of you seem to think that you have to be really smart, like Bill Gates or Stephen Hawking, to actually get the grades you want. But you don't have to, because that is just a myth that you have portrayed on other straight A students, because you think that they are much smarter than you are. But they aren't at all. You are really smart, I promise you that, and you can get a 4.0 GPA. You are probably just using the wrong techniques, not studying enough, or just don't know what to do when it comes to actually getting good grades. So if you ever doubted yourself, this video is for you. And stay tuned for the last tip, because that is the most important one to get a 4.0 GPA. So let's give some background to why I had a 1.7 GPA in high school. Well, I was gaming quite a lot. I didn't actually know how to study. I didn't even try to study, or at least when I tried to study, I just used my phone or watched YouTube or anything like that. But then one day I broke my leg, so I was just inside all the time, and then I watched a YouTube video, and I can't remember the name of it, and it still haunts me to this day that I can't remember it. But when I watched that, I started to learn about effective study habits and effective study techniques, and when I implemented them, I saw that I had a lot of potential, and I started learning things at a rapid rate. And that was a wake-up call, because when you can learn stuff effectively, you just need to memorize them. So I found an effective way of actually memorizing them, and the test after that, I remember it was a chemistry test that I took, and I got an A on it. First test where I actually tried to implementing good techniques, and this was a huge win, because you get a lot of motivation when you do that and when you get good results. But after a while, I couldn't really get the A's on every exam, and that was because of tip number one I'm going to say right now. You need to start visualizing yourself as a straight A student, and I can't stress this enough, because straight A students, they have A's because of a reason, and that reason is because they behave in a specific way. They do stuff in a specific way that you don't, and they learn stuff in specific ways that you don't. So start by watching the straight A students in your school, in your class, it could be anywhere, and try to mimic them. Find a way on how to become more like them when it comes to school. I don't mean to remove your personality and just follow them. I mean, you should see what they do and try to do what they do, but do it even better. So I started by observing the straight A students, and I noticed three things. They studied more, they behaved much better in front of their classmates and teachers, and they learned through different methods. But that was not all, because they also had this mentality that everything that happened in their life was caused by something they had done. So what do I mean by that? Well, let's say that you have a test and you didn't study for it, like I did when I had 1.7 GPA, and then you take the test and you get a low grade. What is the reason for that? Well, if you are saying that the reason was your parents, your teachers, the questions, the subject, you will not get better. You need to understand that it is your fault, and you can't complain on anyone else, because you won't improve if you don't see what you are doing wrong. So embrace the concept of extreme ownership. You can't have any more excuses, because excuses are not good for anyone, and especially you. So if you're recognizing that this is you, you need to ask yourself some questions. Why aren't my grades up to par? What am I doing wrong? And am I productive enough? And the one thing that you are probably doing wrong is your study habits. Now, there are plenty of study habits that you can use to actually get better grades, but there are so many, so I can't even say them in this video, but you can find them on my other videos or on this Instagram. But you need to have them ready, and you need to have the study habits implemented to actually get some consistency, which we will talk about more later on. So my study habit that I got when I started getting good grades was that I studied for 1 hour at least the moment I got home from school. So let's say I get home by 3 p.m. I study at least until 4 p.m. and then I can do whatever I want. That's called habit stacking, and it's a form from Atomic Habits, a book that is really good and I recommend you to read. But it says when you are doing something that you do on a daily basis, like getting home, you should have a habit on top of that you always do after. And that was key for me, and it probably will work for you as well if you don't study enough. And that leads me on to tip number 2, you need to leverage resources. But what are the resources? I should recommend going to YouTube where you are right now and search up the topics that you want to learn, like the effective study habits, or you can even check out my free guide from StudySteller, or you can even talk with me on a one-on-one coaching. It doesn't really matter. You just need to find a way on how to actually get and implement the study habits and study techniques. And you can only do that by leveraging resources that you have. And YouTube and everything, they are free. So just use them and learn so you can implement the habits and lay the groundwork. And then when you have laid the groundwork, you need to start getting consistency, because you probably won't see results that fast. Maybe you get an A on your next exam, but the exam after that you get a C, because when you start getting those good grades, you won't be as desperate to get the grades that you actually want. So you need to have consistency with your study habits. You should be consistent in your results, in how much you study, and in the study techniques, because the first time you use a study technique, it won't be the best time, and you won't do it as effectively as in 1 year after doing it. You need to learn everything and get better over time, and that's how you actually get a sustainable, good study career and good grades in the end. But before you do all of this, you need to understand that this is hard. This isn't just smooth sailing. I mean, implementing good study techniques, they can help you study in 2 hours instead of 4, but you need to study 2 hours each day maybe. So when you receive setbacks and everything like that, you need to keep your head to the ground and just keep going forward. But how do you get the motivation to do that? Well, I would suggest that you celebrate every victory you achieve. Let's say you studied 2 hours, which you were set out to do, and you do it. Well, celebrate that. Celebrate everything good that you do for yourself, and I promise you that will make a huge difference in your motivation. And also, you need to have balance to get motivation, which leads me on to tip number 5, balance. In the beginning, when I started studying effectively, I started studying way too much, and I left my friends behind because I was studying so much and couldn't hang out with them. But soon I got burned out, and you get that after just being by yourself studying and trying to getting better. But there's only one way of actually getting better, and that's through balance. You need to find a healthy mix of personal relationships, like with your family and friends, studying, and other hobbies like soccer game or doing dance classes, etc. You need to have a good balance between these. Otherwise, you will just get overworked and tired and unmotivated. What I did was that I didn't study after 7 p.m. And after 7 p.m., I hanged out with friends, I played video games, I did what I wanted to do on my spare time. And that helped me getting mentally sane and also motivated to study the next day. Because you have a life and you want to enjoy it as well, right? You can't just be studying each and every single moment when you're awake. That isn't sustainable at all. So after I implemented all of these tips and tricks, I now have a 4.0 GPA going into university. And when I was gaming 5 to 6 hours a day, I didn't think that this would happen. But it wasn't that hard as you think, and it's definitely doable. And if you do this, the wins will start stacking, because if you get more productive in your studies, you will get more productive in your personal life, you will build more connections and become happier in the end. So that was my journey to a 4.0 GPA and how you could do it as well. Remember, it's never too late wherever you are. You might be in university, you might be in elementary school, you might be in high school, and it's never too late or too early to start implementing these techniques. You just need 3 things: a strategy like study habits and study techniques, consistency over time, and the right mindset, like believing that you are a straight A student. If you do those 4 things, I promise you will get a 4.0 GPA. There's no doubt about it. So stay motivated, stay curious, and please DM me if you have any questions, or if you want to have a coaching call, if you want to know more about StudySteller, me and academic studying's platform. I'm here to help you out. So please like and please subscribe if you found this helpful, and I will see you in the next one.